Haley Cintron, and CPS graduate, Washington High School, IB program graduate. But, and I agree that there are actually options within the CPS system, and come from a long line of education. Like I said, not enough without the mic. My mom was an educator, my sister's cousins, there's administrators, but one point that I really drew in on, I believe your name is Miss Wang, was that how do we take something that's working in one classroom or in one school and make it systematic? Because even in my experience as an IB student, I went from IB, the best that my neighborhood school could offer, to the University of Chicago, and I was a fish out of water. I was a big fish in a little pond at Washington High School, and I was a little fish in a big pond, and Lord knows how I graduated. Thank you, Jesus, graduated at the U of C. I was so far out of my league, and I have a friend in admissions at U of C, and what's sad to find is that even there was a point in U of C's time when they were recruiting heavily out of CPS, which they are no longer doing, because CPS students are not making it, and the students that they are targeting from CPS are obviously the best and the brightest, students like me, and they're still not making it. So even the best of what CPS had to offer me was nowhere near enough. And that's an outrage to me. So like I said, one thing, even working in the CPS system now, I work at Calvin Park High School, gang intervention, there's this, you see how messed up that school can be in and of itself. Like, how do we take this one thing that is working here in one classroom and take it and make it work system-wide? Because I think the argument about, and my personal argument about charter schools is, instead of coming up with an alternative system, we need to fix the system that's there in itself. So that's kind of the question.
I just want to give you an analogy. When a sports team is not winning, so they fire the players? They get rid of the coach. They get rid, mostly, they get rid of the coach. We need to start looking at our building leaders. We need to start looking at district leaders. And again, there's good and bad everywhere. But is there a system in place now that checks building leaders?
Can I jump in? I'm just.
Are you going to speak to the question?
Yeah, to her question.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And what she said was exactly what I was going to say. But I had, if a business is failing, do you fire the workers or do you go after the boss? I mean, if you look at the assembly line, you don't fire the little worker bees along there. You fire the guy that doesn't know how to manage the plant.
This is what's going on in the economy exactly right now. Yes, the worker gets fired.
But the boss is the one responsible for the system. The system has failed for years and years and years. You fire from the top. That's not, yeah, and it's not happening. But to speak to what this young woman just said, I know about Calvin Park firsthand. And can you tell, what's the leadership like at that school? I mean, it's a disaster. And there are some wonderful, wonderful teachers there that are fighting. And you're not only fighting against the neighborhood conditions and the parents that aren't so involved, you're also fighting against the system that's crushing you from this crazy principle that is imposing that. I'm sorry. No, okay.
Can I just jump in here, because you asked about taking one model, one good thing, one good practice, and multiplying it into multiple schools. First, you have to have a basic foundation of education. Chicago does not have one across the city, whereas all of the students in all of the schools, elementary and high school, are supposed to be learning specific skill sets, which are set by the state, by the way. They do exist, but the teaching of them, the time that they're taught, does not exist. One of my things that I advocate for is that we know that we're in an urban city where people move all the time, and most of the time they don't move that far. If we taught every grade level and every subject certain skill sets during a particular time period during the school year, no matter where that parent moved or when that child moved, they would never lose their place. That's one option that has never even been imposed. Well, I have to say Area 15 is now implementing that with their schools. But then you can never have a cookie cutter approach to education because all of our students are different. All of our neighborhoods are different, but we do need to work to make sure that we guarantee at least a basic education that applies this principle of teaching these children the same thing at the same time so that you know that they don't lose their place. At least we could do that.
All righty. Way in the back on the right. Yeah, there you are.